Okay, any questions from anyone, please? Any questions? No questions. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello, sir. Uh, what is the difference between the requisition and PO
We'll discuss.
order?
We'll discuss detail level in the payable purchasing application. So, as a part of P2P cycle, we discussed what is the purpose we raise the requisition if there is any requirement in the organization. Okay, what material we require,
Okay.
how much quantity we require, by which date we require. Okay, the shortage within the inventory that can be raised as a requisition. Based on this, what purchasing department will do, they'll place the purchase order to supplier.
Okay.
Okay, how much quantity, which item we required, by which date we required, and to where supplier has to send that material, and where supplier has to send the bill, invoice. All the details we can see with purchase order. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, we'll be discussing very detailed level. We have a different type of
Okay,
requisition,
sir.
type of
Thank you.
purchase orders, in which business scenario, which type of requisitions, which type of purchase orders we have to use. Those we'll discuss as a part of that application. This is just high level to understand how the process flows. And anyway, here also, if you have any questions to understand any point here, whatever we discussed, okay, anything, any clarification required or any doubt, please let me know. We can discuss. Any other questions from anyone, please? Fine. No questions. Fine. In the last session, we discussed about the P2P cycle. P2P stands for procure to pay. So if any organization is going to procure some material, what process the organization has to follow, what are the different departments involved in the respective process, those points we discussed. Ideally, the process, the P2P cycle starts with a inventory application or inventory department, and these are the various activities each department performs. But once we get into the respective application, we'll see more detail level, but this is what we have to understand as a P2P cycle. Okay, so inventory takes initiative as a requisition whenever there is shortage in the warehouse, and they have to get the approvals. That information they'll pass to purchasing department, and the purchasing department will take the responsibility of raising the RFQ. And once they request for RFQs, quotations from the suppliers, supplier will provide the quotations, and that means purchasing department will receive the quotations, and there will be process called as quotation analysis, where the department will look into the price and other terms, so which is a favor to the department. Accordingly, they'll choose. That's what we discussed as a choose best quotation, and they'll place the order to supplier with approvals. Whenever our organization receives the material, that should be recorded in our books as a GRN, or simply you can call as a receipt. If any damage to the item, whatever we receive, those you can return, that we call as purchase returns. Recording the receipt and performing the purchase returns can be initiated by purchasing department or inventory. Basically, the physical stock will be managed within the inventory. The inventory will take the responsibility, but within our applications, you can do these activities, recording the receipt or performing the purchase returns from inventory or purchasing department. In terms of applications, inventory application or purchasing application. So the purchasing department will pass this GRN information to payables department. Based on GRN information, payables department creates purchase invoices. If this purchase invoice is related to asset purchase, the payables department will pass that information to asset department. Based on that information, asset department will create fixed asset, and based on the usage, they calculate the depreciation. The payment information will be passed to cash department by payables department. So based on that payment information, the cash department or cash management department will perform the bank statement reconciliation, where they'll cross-check bank statement with the payments records which are processed by payables department. Apart from that, the cash management is responsible to maintain the bank accounts. All the information will share with the general department, where they'll prepare the financial reports. In terms of application, these are the names. Already we discussed the department names. For each department, we have separate application to maintain the department specific activities. This we are calling as P2P cycle, procure to pay. Okay. So whatever we discussed already in the last session, any questions from anyone, please? Any questions? Okay, no questions. Fine. So here, if there is any requirement in the organization, it could be internal demand or external demand. Okay, we are raising the requisition. Yeah, please. Any question? Somebody joined.
Sorry, Lakshman, one question here. Is it always like we have so many departments like cash department and separate department for accounts payable? Is it always mandatory, or is it possible that one department handling multiple processes is that allowed in Oracle?
If organization is very small, do you think that organization required ERP product? No.
No.
Right? So in that case, say you don't need to maintain the system. If it is very small organization, you can use one book, right? You can write everything in the book. That's enough. If you have little bit more transactions, you may use small you may use spreadsheet to capture all those details. In one sheet, you can record your purchases. In another sheet, you can record your sales. In another sheet, some other stock related information, right? So if you want to track whenever you do some transactions, all those you may look for, all those you cannot just record in the spreadsheet, and it won't give you the flexibility of setting up the status, what we are doing exactly now, how it is going to be updated, some workflows, how the transactions are, what activities you are doing in the organization, the synchronization, whatever you are doing in the business, that process, if you want to represent, that is not possible just in the spreadsheet. There should be applications where you can maintain the department specific activities. In that case, you can look for separate application. If any organization is going to maintain each and every department related activities separately, and where they will be having large volume of the transaction, there will be a number of activities which they do as a part of department function. So in that case, only companies look for ERP applications or any other software applications. Okay, if you take a very small organization, maybe one person can take care of all these activities, right? If it is very small.
Correct.
That is the reason I taken the simple example also, right? Here I taken the simple example where I just mentioned that. So where just we discussed here, right? Here we taken the simple example, right? Procurement process. How many people did this? Only one person. We take an example as one individual. Mr. X is the student. He wants to purchase laptop. Then identifying the requirement and getting the approval from the parents, visiting the shops, taking the quotations, and finally making the payment. Everything is done by the same person. But in case of organizations, so this is the process they have to follow. If there are not very small organizations, very small organizations, they may not go with the ERP. Such kind of requirement you don't find. They can use any small application or a small accounting package. They can manage everything. Okay, done. So Any questions from this P2P cycle, please? No questions. Now let's talk about sales process. Okay, sales process. Say we got order from the customer. Okay, we got one order from customer. We got order for 100 laptops. Okay, who receives customer orders? Sales department, right? Sales department is responsible to receive sales orders. Okay, sales department takes the responsibility of receiving the orders from the customer. Say, so whenever sales department receives the orders, what sales department has to do is sales department should check with inventory department. Say for example, the sales department received an order from the customer. So whenever sales department receives the order, they have to record in their books. That means they'll create the sales order. Okay, they'll create the sales order. Short we can call as SO. They'll create the sales order. After creating the sales order, as per sales order information, 100 laptops are required. Now the sales department should check with inventory department whether stock is available or not. Okay, if stock is not available, what organization has to do? What they have to do? If no stock in just now,
either they had to buy or
yes. Let's talk about buy process only, not manufacturing and all. Okay. So stock is not available. We got order from the customer for 100 laptops and that is received by sales department. Just they are recording that sales order in their books. Now they have to check with the inventory or say warehouse whether 100 laptops are available or not. If laptops are not available within the inventory department, warehouse, what the organization has to do or inventory department has to do? What they have to do?
They have to let the inventory team know that they need to purchase the material.
What inventory department has to do? It's very simple. We discussed.
Inventory department must raise the request.
Yeah, they write a PR.
There's a purchase requisition.
Purchase requisition. They'll raise the PR purchase requisition. They'll get the approvals. Then the information they'll pass to purchasing department and they'll do all these activities. Otherwise, it may not be mandatory all the time getting the quotations and all. If they have suppliers with where they are okay and all, where recently they did some quotation process, negotiations, etc. In that case, directly they can place the order, and this is how they'll execute that procuring the goods related activities, right? So that means if no stock available in the warehouse, ideally the P2P cycle, they have to start working on this relevant process, P2P related process they have to execute. If stock is available, sales department received order, they are checking with inventory department what they will do if stock is available. What sales department will do? Sales department should give the confirmation to the customer as they are going to supply the material. So whatever the order they received from customer, just they made a note as a sales order. After receiving the order from the customer, they have to check with inventory department. They have to check with the inventory department. If stock is available, okay, the inventory department will inform to sales department as the stock is how much quantity of stock is available and all. Based on that information, the sales department will inform to customers as they are going to supply that material. So that confirmation, whatever sales department is going to give the confirmation, that details they'll record in their books as a booking sales order. That means they'll book the sales order. The first activities, they'll receive the sales order from the customer. If stock is available, they'll give the confirmation to the customer that they'll record in their books as a book sales order. They will be booking, they'll be giving the confirmation to the customer that they'll be tracking in their books as a sales order is booked. That means they given the confirmation to the customer. Take simple example. If stock is not available, okay, do you think sales department will give the confirmation to the customer? They received order from the customer for 100 laptops. When they check with inventory department, say stock is not available within the inventory. Do you think sales department will give the confirmation to the customer as they are going to supply?
We cannot give a confirmation straight as it is. They may have to check by how early or how soon they can get them the laptops, and then they can give the information.
Yeah, that is a valid point. But you can say, yes, they can give the confirmation, because when they receive the sales order from the customer, they can see the details within the sales order. So what item they required, how much quantity they required, how soon they required, all the details sales department will receive from the customer. Then they can talk to the inventory department, and the other side inventory will talk to the purchasing department based on their communication and how they'll be planning to get the material. Even stock is not available, based on their plan they can give the confirmation to the customer. Say sales department will interact with the inventory department will talk to purchasing department. Say purchasing department given the confirmation to inventory department, yes, we can get the material within 1 week. Maybe customer might be asking the same material within 10 days. So in that case, they can, even there is no stock in the inventory, they can give the confirmation to the customer, because they have a plan of buying that material from the supplier, okay, and after buying they'll be supplying to their customers. Okay, with this plan they can give the confirmation. Okay, so this is even if with no stock in the inventory also, the sales department can give the confirmation to the customer if they have a plan of procuring the goods from the supplier to supply to their customers. Done. So sales department is responsible to receive the orders from the customer, the same they record. If stock is available, stock may be available, may not be available. So depending on the situations, okay, they'll give the confirmation. If stock is available, directly they can give the confirmation. If they are going to buy from the suppliers, in that case also they can give the confirmation to customer, that we call as book sales order. So once sales order is booked, that means once confirmation is given to the customer, what is the next step? The material we have to ship to the customer. The material we have to ship to the customer location. That should be done by sales department, or else within the sales department there could be some shipping team, or if organization is very big, there could be a separate team also, okay, to manage the shipping activities. Let's take the very generic scenarios. So the sales department should take the responsibility of shipping the material to customer. The reality where we have a stock within the inventory department. Now when you look at inventory department, how that can be structured, here I have a simple representation related to that. So just you take this entire area as a inventory department area. Okay, so within that inventory you can do the partitions. Okay, you can do the partitions. Those partitions you can call as sub inventories. Sub inventory 1, sub inventory 2, sub inventory 3, sub inventory 4. Say for example, within the inventory you are going to store mobiles. To store the mobile separately, you can have one sub inventory, sub partition within the overall inventory. And you want to store some desktops separately, so you may use sub inventory 2 for desktops, and sub inventory 3 you may use for laptops, and sub inventory 4 you may use for books. So if you are dealing with these 4 different type of items, you may plan to segregate and maintain those material with a different sub inventory concept. Okay, you can create the sub inventories. Within each sub inventory you can maintain the different item, and this is the total area you have to understand as an inventory organization area, warehouse area. Within that we have a sub partitions, those we are calling as sub inventories. Say for example, we purchase from supplier. When you purchase the material from the supplier, ideally we'll take into this receiving area, or you can call as this receiving area. When you are receiving, basically when you are receiving the material from the customer, that you can supplier, we call it as receiving area. First we'll get the material from supplier to this receiving area. Then we'll place this received material into respective inventory. Say we received mobiles. So from this receiving area, we'll move the mobiles to mobile sub inventory. If we receive books, first we'll receive from the supplier to this location. From this location we'll place in the books sub inventory. Okay, you received desktops. First you'll get desktops from the supplier location to our this receiving area, and from there we'll be placing that material in the respective sub inventory. So that means when we receive the material into our organization, we are placing in this receiving area, and later we are placing those in the respective sub inventory. Say for example, we are selling to the customer. Say we are selling mobiles. Let's take example mobiles. First sub inventory 1 is mobiles sub inventory. Okay, within this, what are the mobiles we have? If you are going to sell to the customer, first what we have to do, you have to move the mobiles from the sub inventory 1 to the shipping area. The total area you can use for receiving purpose and shipping purpose. First you will move the material from here to here. The truck may come here and you may load all those items into truck, or else first you can move the material from this sub inventory to this area. Here you may do the packing, or without packing you can load into the truck. Then you will be shipping to customer. That means when you are receiving the material or when you are shipping the material, we are utilizing this space, right? This you can call as, when you are receiving, you can call as receiving area. When you are shipping, you can call as shipping area. Okay, so first we'll move from here to here, from here to customer. When you are receiving from supplier to this area, from this area to sub inventory. This you can call as staging area also. Okay, this you can call as staging area. So that means for a temporary purpose, we are going to maintain the stock in this area. Okay, so this is what we have to understand about inventory organization, how that can be structured. The total area we are calling as inventory area, inventory organization. Within that, what are the partitions we have, those we call as sub inventories. Okay, ideally we store the material in the sub inventory. In some organizations there may not be concept called as sub inventory. Okay, in that case, so we don't need to go with any partitions. Just will create the inventory organization. But as per system, which is a compulsory and which is optional, those we'll discuss once we get into the application. Okay, even if there is no sub inventory as per business, in the system we have to create. Why we have to create and all we'll discuss when we are working on the inventory application. Okay, this is a very basic structure how warehouse can be managed. The total area we are calling as inventory organization. This area, okay, this area we are calling as staging area, and these partitions we are calling as sub inventory. Okay, when you talk about inventory management, how that inventory area can be structured, any questions from anyone please? And one more point, still if you go more detail level, that will be, we'll see in the classes, but to understand this concept that is not required. Again, within the sub inventory you can have again further segregation as a rows, racks, bins. Okay, that's how you can do the further segregation also, but to understand this concept, those are not required now itself. So this is how the inventory, you can see the inventory can be structured. Now the case is, the sales department is created sales order. Whenever they receive order from the customer, that will record as the sales order, and say they given the confirmation to the customer as they are going to supply. Now stock is available in the inventory. Now what is the first step? We have to move the material from sub inventory to staging area. Whenever inventory department will do that activity physically, a physical activity, moving material from sub-inventory to staging, the inventory department will inform to sales department as per so and so sales order, we moved material from sub-inventory to staging. The inventory department will pass that information to sales department. So the same they will record in their books as a pick release. Okay, pick release is nothing but moving material from sub-inventory to staging, that we call it as pick release. Okay, so we pick the material from sub-inventory and will place in the staging area or shipping area. So this activity takes place in the warehouse. This would be done by warehouse department team, but they'll pass that information to sales department. The reason why they have to pass that information to sales department, the customer always will contact the sales department only. Customer is not going to contact the inventory department to check the update against the order whatever they placed. When customer will call to sales department, they should be in the position to answer to their queries. So if customer is going to call to sales department, since sales department got update from the inventory department, they can just update to their customer saying that yes, we already picked the material and we did the packing, or else it's readily available. It we placed in the staging area, it's ready to ship. Okay, or we are loading that material into truck. This sort of information they can pass, but that much detail level then you don't need to pass to them. Simply here, as per the department activity, they should aware whether against the order the material is picked from the sub inventory and placed in the staging area or not. That information should be available for sales department. So whenever we move the material from the sub inventory to staging area, that would be tracked in the sales department as a pick release. The next step is we have to move the material from the staging area to customer location. So whenever we move this material from the staging to customer location, so who will do this activity? Say inventory department or shipping team will do this activity. So once this is done, this inventory department will pass that information to sales department as we shipped material to customer. So based on those details, the sales department will track the same information in their books as ship confirm. Okay, in their books record it as a ship confirm. Ship confirm is nothing but whenever you move the material from our inventory organization or say staging area to customer location, that we call as ship confirmation. Say we shipped material to customer. If there is any damage, customer can return the material back to us. If any returns from the customer, that also can be handled by sales department. They'll just look into that information, that we call it as sales returns. Okay, they'll just involve in this, or else inventory department also can do that activity. Since sales department is taking the responsibility of this, they'll have a communication with inventory department related to sales returns, etc. So here inventory is, from inventory side there is no activity in case of sales. So just here we'll maintain the stock. Okay, but there will be communication between the sales department and inventory department. If stock is not available, then the inventory department will raise the requisition that they'll pass to purchasing department. And once we receive the material, purchasing department will just inform to payables department to make the payment. So whether we purchased material or we have stock, that doesn't matter. So if stock is available here within the inventory, whether you purchased or already available, that's a secondary point. If stock is available, how sales department will work on that sales execution process, this is what we have to understand. If any order from the customer, sales department will take the responsibility of recording that order as a sales order, and they'll check with the inventory department whether stock is available or not, and based on that they will give the confirmation to the customer that the confirmation they record in their books as a book sales order. And finally, just whenever inventory team will move the material from sub-inventory to staging, that they'll record in their books as a pick release has happened. And whenever we move the material from the sub-inventory to the customer location, you no need to say exactly sub-inventory. Simply you can say when we move the material from our inventory to customer location, that the sales department will track that activity as a ship confirmation. And if any returns from the customer, that also can be handled by sales department as a sales returns. Okay. So this is what exactly the sales department will do as a primary activities. Any questions here, please? Any questions? No questions.
Yeah. Lakshman, can we track the shipment?
Yes.
Compared to EBS in cloud, do they have a transportation management or?
That, on live tracking you are talking about?
Yes.
No. If that is not possible. It's all about like whether shipment is done or not. That you have to do outside of the system only.
But how about in cloud? Do they have transportation management or it's
Yes,
not
yes.
released?
They have Oracle Transportation Management application also. You want to use. Yeah. Fine. So whatever ship confirmation you record within the sales department, there you cannot track where exactly that truck located and all you cannot track. Just for information as ship confirmation is done. Okay, so that they'll be able to answer to customer queries as yes, shipment is done, the truck will arrive by tomorrow or today evening. This sort of communication they can pass since they got the update from the inventory department. For that purpose they record. Right. And other point is very much importantly, they have to maintain each and every record what exactly they are doing. Right, done. Any other questions here, please? Okay. For every order, these are the basic actions which they perform or activities they do, and sales returns, if required, they do the sales returns, right? Sales department is responsibility is not performing the sales returns, right? So if any returns from the customer, then they will track that information as a from which customer, how much quantity, what reason customer returned. They will be recording that we call as sales returns. That activity also can be done by sales department only. Okay, once ship confirmation is done, the sales department will pass these details with receivables department. Okay, the sales department will pass the ship confirmation details with the receivables department. What information we can see in the ship confirmation details? So for which customer, which item, how much quantity they sold, and when customer promised to pay, all the details you can see in the ship confirmation. Means the sales department will pass the details to receivables department, to which customer they sold, what item they sold, how much quantity they sold, okay, what is the price and everything, all the details they will be sharing with the receivables department. Once receivables department will receive the ship confirmation details, based on that receivables department will create sales invoice. Okay, the receivables department will create sales invoice based on the ship confirmation details whatever they are receiving from the sales department. So once they record the sales invoice, they'll start, and within the sales invoice what information they'll record, almost same whatever they received from the sales department. Within the sales invoice you can see who is the customer, okay, and what are the items are supplied to that customer, how much customer has to pay, when customer is going to pay. All the details you can find within the sales invoice. Then receivables department will start following up the customer to get the payment. Whenever receivables department will receive the payment from the customer against the sales invoice, that they'll record as a receipt, or you can call as cash receipt. Okay. So whenever receivables department receives the payment from the customer, they'll record the same in their books as a receipt. Now what receivables department will do is, the receivables department will share this receipt information with the cash department. So by using this receipt information, the cash department will perform bank statement reconciliation. So what exactly they will do? As per bank statement, how many payments they received from the customer. As per receivables department, how many payments they received, they will check. So as per bank statement, only 20 payments they received. When they see the bank statement says 20 payments they received. But when you see receivables department records, say 30 receipts. As per receivables department, they received 30 payments. As per bank statement, they received 20 payments in that month. So there is 10 payments difference between receivables department records and bank statement record. What could be the reason? Bank statement shows only 20 payments only we received, but receivables department says 30 payments we received. Why that 10 payments are not reflecting in the bank statement? What could be the reason?
Very likely that the bank reconciliation has not happened.
Sorry?
It's possible that the bank reconciliation process has not been done.
Okay, no, when they are trying to do the reconciliation, they identified that. The reason could be simple. So they received 30 payments, but only 20 payment related checks they might have submitted and those got cleared. Or else say 30 payments, whatever they received, they might have submitted in the bank, only 20 got cleared. It may take some time, okay, to clear those checks and to be reflected in the bank statement. So these are all the details they can identify by doing the bank statement reconciliation. Why the variance? Okay, what went wrong? And these they have to find out. So the payables in the P2P cycle also we discussed how many payments they made as per the payables department, how many payments are reflecting in the bank statement. Both they have to compare. In the same way, how many payments reality they received from the customers, how many payments are reflecting. Payments means customer payments. Your receipt means this is the customer payment. You can write it as a customer payment also. Okay, as per receivables department, how many receipts means how many customer payments. Okay, they received, and as per bank statement, how many reflecting. If few payments are not reflecting in the bank statement, they have to find out the reasons why those are not reflecting. Okay, so this receipt information cash department will use for bank statement reconciliation. They'll check the receipts information with the bank statement, whether both records are matching or not. They'll cross check. If any mismatch, they'll work on it. Apart from that, already we discussed the point, the cash department responsibility is maintaining the bank accounts. Okay. So here, whatever we are discussing very primary activities. As a part of department, they do many activities. When we are working on our applications, our area of applications, we'll go more detail level. So, but just to understand this process flow, we are trying to understand what are the key activities, what is the purpose the department we have, what data we can manage and what processes we can execute. We are trying to understand. Okay, done. Now this receivables inventory, sales, receivables, cash department, all these departments will share the data with the common department. Based on those details, this common department can prepare the financial reports. Okay, so financial reports, all these departments will share the data with the common department. Okay, this is a very typical sales process which we can see the sales department, where it connects with other departments also. So when I talk about this process, if any order from the customer, sales department will take the responsibility of creating the orders, and they'll check the stock availability with the inventory department. If stock is available, they book the sales order. Even stock is not available, If there is any possibility of getting that material to supply to the customer, in that scenario also they book the sales order. And whenever we move the material from the sub inventory to staging, that they'll record as a pick release. Whenever we move the material from the staging to customer location, the sales department will track the same as a ship confirmation. If any returns from the customer, and the sales department will record the sales returns. So this ship confirmation details, sales department will pass to receivables department. Based on the ship confirmation details, the receivables department will create the sales invoice. Whenever they get the payment from customer against that sales invoice, they'll record that customer payment as a receipt, and receivables department will share this receipt information with the cash department for the purpose of bank statement reconciliation. And other side, cash department is responsible to maintain the company bank accounts. All these details will share with the common department to prepare the financial reports. So here, inventory for the purpose of maintaining the stock. So to maintain the stock and to raise the requisitions and other activities, we have an application from Oracle called as Oracle Fusion Inventory. Short, you can call as INV, or you can call it as Oracle Fusion Cloud Inventory. Okay, we discussed what is the meaning of cloud and all. Every time we don't need to include that term in the application name, ignore it. Okay, when I say Oracle Fusion Inventory, Oracle Fusion Cloud Inventory only. So if you are going to use your on-premise application, in that case you should not call it as cloud, right? Those points we discussed in the last session. So what sales department is doing primarily? Creating the sales orders, booking the sales orders, tracking pick release, ship confirmation, if required, recording the sales returns. To do all these activities, not only these activities, there are many other activities which sales department performs. So to capture all those activity related information, we have application from Oracle which we call as Oracle Fusion Order Management. In short, we call as OM. By using Oracle Fusion Order Management application, we can create the sales orders and we can perform the activity called as booking the sales orders, and we can just track pick release is happened or not against the order, and against that order ship confirmation is performed or not, and if required we can record the sales returns and many other activities. When we are working on order management, we'll discuss all those features, what we can do within the Oracle, Fusion Inventory Order Management application, and we'll start working on one by one. And the order management or sales department will pass the ship confirmation details with the receivables department. Okay, so what receivables department will do, based on the ship confirmation details, they'll create the sales invoice. Whenever they get the payment from customer, they will record the receipt. Instead of calling as receipt, you can call it as customer payment also. Okay, customer payment they'll record. So to create the sales invoices and to record the receipts or customer payments, we have application from Oracle called Oracle Fusion Accounts Receivable. In short, we call as AR. The cash department, to maintain the bank accounts and to perform the bank statement reconciliations, already discussed. The application name is Oracle Cash Management. Say Oracle Fusion Cash Management. You can call it as CM Cash Management, or you can call it CE Cash Entry System, because here we use CE also for Oracle Cash Management. The reason we have other application called as CM Cost Management also. Okay, you can just use any one of the short name for this. And finally, all the information, all the departments will share with this common department to prepare the financial reports. To do this activity, we have application from Oracle which we call as Oracle Fusion General Ledger, GL. So these are the different departments will involve in this process. Very primarily, so inventory is not no activity with inventory department or within the inventory application. So, but there will be communication between the inventory and the sales department in terms of application in the order management application. But primarily, the core activities in the sales process will happen between these two applications. Okay, so these are the two primary applications, but as a part of process, you have to consider these three applications. Okay, so this process, right from receiving the order from the customer till we receive from the payment, these can be handled here, right? Just inventory for communication purpose only, very primarily the activities takes place from here. So inventory, this order management process is starting with the order. We receive the order. This process will end whenever we receive the payment from the customer. We receive the order from the customer and we receive the payment from the customer. When we receive the order from the customer, this process is getting initiated. Whenever we get the payment from the customer, the process will end. The rest of communication, just passing that information to cash department for bank statement reconciliation. So this process we call as O2C cycle. Okay, O2C cycle. O2C stands for order to cash. Order to cash. So the cycle will start with the order, customer order, which we record as sales order, and it will end with the cash. Whenever you get the cash from the customer, the cycle will end. This process we call as O2C cycle. Okay, short, or call it as order to cash. This is also why we are calling a cycle. It will keep repeating. Again, if you get order from the customer, comes to the sales department and will record the sales order and will book. Will just, whenever pick release happens within the inventory, that will record as a pick release. Whenever we ship the material from our inventory to customer, that will track as a ship confirmation. If any returns from the customers, that will record as a sales returns. Again, this confirmation details will be passed to receivables. They'll create the sales invoice and they'll create the receipt. Whenever they get the payment, this receipt information they'll pass to cash department to do the bank statement reconciliation. All this information will pass to common department to prepare the financial reports. This is cycle kind of activity. It will keep repeating. Whenever we get order, again that complete cycle of activities we have to perform. That is the reason this we are calling as O2C cycle. Okay, O2C cycle. So we already discussed about P2P cycle. Now we discussed about O2C cycle. So these two cycles are very primary cycles when we are going to work on our SCM applications. Our SCM applications are tightly connected with the inventory finance applications. In terms of business, this supply chain process related departments are always will have a communication with the finance departments. So that is the reason within the system also we have to understand how this communication can be established, what data we just will pass across these departments, across these applications, and what activities we can record within the application. Everything we'll see more detailed level, but we should aware of these two cycles with a detailed understanding. Okay, so this is a P2P cycle, this is O2C cycle. So here already we taken the short names: inventory, Oracle Fusion Inventory, INV, okay, Fusion Purchasing, PO, cash management, CER, CM, and receivables, payables, AP, fixed assets, FA, and general ledger, GL. Same way here also we taken the O2C cycle. So inventory, INV, order management, OM, accounts receivable, AR, general ledger, GL, cash management, CM or CE. So the short names are already we just taken for each and every application. Now we'll see these two cycles at a time. So this is how you could see. So first, when you talk about a P2P cycle, inventory, they'll raise the requisition, they'll get the approvals, then they'll pass the information to purchasing department, means PO. PO means Oracle Fusion Purchasing Application. They'll pass to purchasing, And here the purchasing department responsibilities: raising RFQs, getting quotations. They'll analyze the quotations, they'll choose the best quotation, they'll place the orders. Whenever the organization receives the material, they record the GRN, and if required, they'll perform the purchase returns. The purchasing department will pass this GRN information with accounts payables department. AP means accounts payables, Oracle Fusion accounts payables. What AP will do? They'll create the purchase invoices and they'll make the payments to the supplier. If this purchase invoice information is related to asset purchase, the AP will share that information with FA, fixed assets application or assets department. So when they'll share, if that is asset related purchase invoice, then only they'll share with the fixed assets department. Based on that asset related invoice information, they'll create the fixed asset, and when they use that, they'll calculate the depreciation. Okay, and this payables department, AP department, will share payment information with the cash management, okay, or cash department. The payment information they'll share, and the cash management, what they'll do the bank statement reconciliation. Apart from that, they'll maintain the bank accounts also. Finally, all this data will share with the GL. When you talk about O2C cycle, here is the warehouse. Whenever we get the order from the customer, we record the sales order and we'll check with the inventory. If stock is available, we'll book the sales order. And whenever we move the material from the sub-inventory to staging, the OEM will take the responsibility of recording the same in their books as a pick release. And whenever we ship the material to the customer location, the OEM, order management, or say sales department, will take the responsibility of tracking the same in their books as ship confirmation is done. Any returns from the customer within the OEM or sales department will record the same in their books as the sales returns, and the sales department will pass ship confirmation details with receivables department. Which application receivables department can use? Accounts receivable application, AR. So whenever receivables department get that ship confirmation details from OEM, they will record the sales invoice, and whenever they get the payment from the customer, they'll record the receipt against the sales invoice. The receivables department will share the receipt information with the cash management. Okay, receipt information they'll share with the cash management for the purpose of bank statement reconciliation. Again, all this information will be shared with the GL, general ledger application, or called general department. So there we can prepare the financial reports. Okay, so this is what you can see, this P2P and O2C cycles. If you notice here in the two cycles, the P2P, O2C, these two cycles, there are a few common applications. Those are inventory. When you are dealing with the P2P cycle, yes, there will be communication with the inventory. If there is any shortage, they have to raise the requisition. When you are dealing with the O2C cycle, yes, OEM will have a communication with the inventory department to check the stock availability. So inventory is a common application in the P2P and O2C cycles, and cash management also. Cash management for bank statement reconciliation. The payment data will flow from AP to CM, and receipts data from AR to CM. So that is the reason CM also, cash management also common application. And GL will receive the data from all these applications. Okay, that means all department related data. So these three you can treat as a common applications. Now these three applications, primarily inventory, purchasing, and order management, these three application comes under SCM, supply chain management applications, and these 5 applications we call as financial applications. When we are working on these 3 applications, we have to understand why and what purpose and how this PO will have a communication with the accounts payables. The same way, how this order management will have a communication with the receivables department or AR application. These and all we have to understand. That is the reason, as a part of P2P and O2C cycles, we'll be covering all this. We don't cover CM, not required for us, only finance people required. So for our understanding, so as a part of P2P, we'll be covering the inventory application, PO, and AP. The basic flow we have to understand, and again GL level will see the complete flow from inventory to PO, PO to AP, AP to GL, and from these applications also directly to GL. When I talk about O2C, inventory, OM, how the data flows from the OM to receivables application, from receivables to GL, how it flows, this all will understand as a part of P2P and O2C cycles. We don't need to focus on CM and FA, it's a completely finance related application. Even AP and AR are finance applications, even GL also, but still we are trying to understand basics from this AP and AR. Reason our PO has a tight integration as per applications, connectivity we call as integration. The PO will have a tight integration with AP for communication purpose. The OM also will have a tight integration with AR, okay, to pass that respective information so that this department we can start work on their activities based by taking the inputs from OM. The same way AP also they can start working on creating the purchase order and making the payments based on the inputs whatever that department will get from the purchasing application or say PO. Okay, so that is the reason when we are working on this application, these departments will have a communication with which other departments in the real business. To understand that communication, we have to understand these applications, how those with across application, how the transactions can be processed. Okay, this is what we have to understand. And one more point is, so whatever the data you will have, say in AP you have a 10 transactions, 10 will send to GL. FA you have a 10 will send to GL. CM say we have a 10 will send to GL. In PO you have a 10 transactions will send to GL. Inventory you have 10 will send to GL. Say in AR you have 10 will send to GL. So say for example here 3, 6, 7. From 7 applications, 10 transactions if you send to GL, in GL you can get total 70 transactions, right? 70 transactions. Now if you look at AP, how many you can find? 10, but here 70. If you look at PO, maybe 10 transactions, but here 70. So that means whatever you are maintaining the transactions information in these applications, from all the applications will get the data into GL, and whatever you have across all the application, equivalent information you can find in the GL. So that is the reason if you compare with the GL, how many records we have? 70. If you compare the 70 records with AP got only 10. That means within the 70, AP got 10 means subpart only. The same way PO. In PO you have a 10 records, but here you have a 70. So within the 70, okay, 10 we are getting from PO only. If you compare this PO with GL, here 10 we have, here 70 we have. Within this 70, the 10 are subpart only, which is coming from PO. So that's how the total data can be managed within GL, but only purchasing department data in the purchasing application, inventory data in the inventory application, OM data within the OM application, AP data within the AP. In the same way, each and every department data in the respective application will maintain, but all the data we maintain within the GL. So that is the reason GL means general ledger. We call it as GL as a general ledger, and all other applications other than general ledgers we call as sub-ledger applications. Okay. So apart from GL, what are the other applications we have? All these applications we call as sub-ledger applications. GL is the main ledger. Total data you will find. If you compare the data with any other application, that application will have some subpart of this main ledger. That is the reason those all applications we call as sub-ledger application. GL is general ledger, which is a main ledger, which will have all the sub-ledgers related data. So this is what we have to understand. Any questions from anyone, please? Any questions? Fine.
Lakshman?
Yes, Sai, please.
Okay. For a pick release is there, right? So whenever we move an item from actual sub inventory to receiving area, we call it as pick release.
Correct.
So what about we call for pick confirm? In EBS there is a thing called pick confirm also.
Correct. That also we have here, but that you don't need to treat as a primary activity. Okay. When you do the pick release, okay, you do the confirmation also. Okay. those are small activities which you do, but to understand the primary business process, just you can take as a pick release only.
Okay.
Or else simply you can say we perform the pick release and we confirm. You can say that statement, nothing wrong. Okay, but ideally these are primary activities. So the interconnected activities are on top of it. What additionally we do, that would be there. But here what we are discussing is to understand the business process very high level, which takes place in each and every department we are discussing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And one more question is like for we have a bank statement reconciliation.
Correct.
Right. Even though it's not our core area, but I still would like to pose this question.
Sure.
Like, suppose if we are not reconciling it before the month end, because I heard like in many of the projects they used to say it needs to be done before the month end. I'm not sure what will happen if we are not doing this reconciliation process before the month end. Will it cause any problem?
No. The reconciliation period, you won't be having an issue. Why they always will point month end means every month end we have to close the books. That means we have to close the period in the system. Okay. Every month end we have to make sure that all the transactions you processed and the proper updates are done so that you can close the current period and you can open the next period. So that you can set a control. Okay. See, now we are in the June. That means you have to close the December month in every application. If you don't close, the business users can go on to record the transaction that December which are related to June. To set a control on the transaction process, we have to close the periods. And again, when you are closing the periods related to payables and receivables, here when you talk about cash management, that is related to like data will come from payables, payments data, from receivables, receipts data. Okay. So before you close these payables and receivables, ideally we have to send the data here. From payables, automatically payment data will come here. If you record 10 payments in AP, automatically 10 payments will come to cash management. In receivables, if you record say 20 receipts, no receipt will come to cash management. We have to run one process, then it will come. Okay. So before closing the periods, yes, we have to make sure that everything will be settled.
Okay.
Yep. So otherwise, system won't allow you to close the periods also. Say for example, in AP, you recorded some transactions and all. You didn't complete the activities which need to be performed. In that case, you cannot close the current period to open the next period. It will stop us. When you don't close, users can enter the transaction in the this period, right?
Okay.
So
the same falls for inventory period also, right?
Yeah.
Or similar set of criteria will be there for inventory period.
As per EBS, you have a period concept for inventory, right? You are referring to EBS.
Yes.
In Fusion, you know it. There is no concept of opening and closing the periods for inventory, even for purchasing also. Those we'll discuss once we get to the application.
Okay.
Done. Any other questions?
Lakshman, do we have WMS in
Yeah,
cloud?
warehouse management system. Yeah, that's a separate application we have. Okay.
Because I have seen it is integrated with the this order cycle. So they have some in the R12 on our current system.
Yeah, maybe they might be using that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Any other questions? In cloud also you have that application. Yes. Yeah, please.
Lakshman, do we have a budgeting?
Yeah, budgeting we have.
So you mean in encumbrance account will be reflected in it?
Yeah, when you talk about budgeting, we have two, right? One is budgetary control, the second one is encumbrance. Yeah, that full-fledged functionality we have. Any other questions? Any questions, please? So these are very beginning classes. You can raise whatever questions you have. That may be simple or whatever you can, however you consider, doesn't matter. You can raise your question. So not because of these are initial classes, going forward in any session, any sort of questions you get, you can talk to me, we can discuss. So any questions on P2P and O2C cycles, please? Okay. If you don't understand the cycle, say for example, if you are creating the purchase order, we cannot understand why we are creating purchase. Of course, we need something, we are creating purchase order. But how that flow happens, from where the initiative takes place, etc., we cannot understand. Say for example, if you are going to create the purchase invoice in the payables, if you don't know these P2P and O2C cycles, you cannot understand what is the background of that purchase invoice. So from where the process is initiated and what are the other activities executed by which department, these are all we have to understand so that we can have a command on the process. Once you know these complete cycles, this P2P and O2C, the detailed information, then you can pick in purchasing, then you know in purchasing these are the activities primarily will do. So prior to that, what are the other transactions happen, which department takes initiative, etc., everything you can understand. Okay, so that is the reason we are discussing before we get into anything else. Any questions from anyone related to P2P and O2C cycles, please?
Lakshman, GRN is kind of a document or something, because in EBS, whenever we create a PO, we will be creating it will automatically create, once it's approved, it will create a PO document and it will be sent to supplier.
No. Yeah.
So
one second.
Okay.
Create the PO. Yes, system will create the PO related document to send to supplier. But when you receive the material from the supplier, we will record which material, how much quantity we received against so and so PO, right? So relate.
Yes.
For that information, we'll create the GRN.
Okay. So it is for receiving from the supplier, whatever we are received, we will be noting it as GRN. Goods receipt note.
Exactly. Say for example, you placed one purchase order to supplier by requesting 100 quantity. Supplier supplied only 5 quantity. Now you will record GRN for 5 quantity only. So and so item received 5 quantity from so and so supplier against which PO. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, you will update that stock you are taking into which inventory and which sub inventory. When you are receiving, you have to.
Okay, where we are going to receive it. Okay.
Into which inventory? This inventory. Within this, which sub inventory? We have to specify those details.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions, please?
Lakshman, are we going to cover this, when we look into in detail the SC module?
Very detailed. This is just high level. Don't take this these points.
Okay.
Just introduction.
Okay. Yeah. Got your point. So
there are many things. Here, see, only 4 points you can see related to PO. There are big lists for PO.
Absolutely. So quality and all we will look, while we will go through the PO module, correct?
Yeah, the PO related I'll be covering this complete.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions, please? Okay, no questions. Done. Now the simple point is, take any application here. If you want to record the transaction, any application, what we required in the system. Okay. Say you want to record the transaction in the AP or PO or inventory, OM, or take any application. If you want to record any transaction in any application, what information we require? So when you're recording the transaction, primarily we have to capture the date, on which date we are recording the transaction, and the amount, or simply say on which date we are recording the transaction, and activity, which activity we are doing, and amount, right? So there is one business transaction called as purchasing laptop. In that case, we have to write the details on which date we purchased. Say today we purchased laptop. We have to write 2nd John 2020. On this date, what we did? We purchased a laptop. Laptop purchased. How much amount? Say 25,000. Now, if you are going to record this information as an individual in your books, in your if you have a habit of writing whatever you are spending, this is a good information for you. Okay, you are an individual. You are going to record this information as on 2nd John, I purchased laptop 25,000. You recorded. Reality, it may not be required. For individuals, it may not be required. But organization point, it's very, very important because everything is not managed by one person. So different department, different activities. Okay, many activities. So everything need to be tracked. If you look at this information, this is incomplete information, the organization point of view. Okay, so date is okay. It's clear when we did laptop purchase. It's very clear. And 2nd John, okay, 2020, right? 2nd John 2020. What we did? We purchased a laptop. So when you say we purchase laptop, within the organization there could be n number of branches, or you may have different entities also. Say a simple example, you may have 10 branches to run your business. If I record laptop purchased on so and so date, this happened in which branch we have to specify, in which outlet, okay, where in which unit this purchases happened, we have to write. Okay, I'll say in so and so branch we did it. Do you think that information is enough? No. Again, that activities happen, the laptop purchase is done for which department? You have to specify who did that activity. The finance department or HR department, who did that activity, you have to capture. So that's how you have to provide detailed information related to activity what we are doing. The same way you just did some sales activity, which company sold, which department is involved, okay, what you sold, those details you have to capture as a part of activity. If you talk about amount, we written 25,000. What is this 25,000? If you are individual, you know very well. But when you talk about companies, the companies deals with a different countries, suppliers and customers. Now, if you talk about this laptop purchase, whether you purchase this laptop from India or US or UK, from which country? If it is India, you have to understand that is 25,000 is rupees. From US means 25,000 are dollars. So that is the reason. If it is an individual related record some individual person related record means this information is more than sufficient. On which date, what the person did, for how much amount. Okay, if the person is in India, mostly they'll do the purchases in rupees, or else the person know very well in which currency they just do the purchases. But when it comes to organization, this information is incomplete information. Okay, this information is incomplete. So here, as a part of date, that is okay. But when you talk about activity, this should be more detailed level. Okay, you have to just simply, you cannot provide laptop purchase. There should be detailed description. Okay, for date, for any transaction, it's okay. But when you talk about activity, the detailed information is required. Here when you talk about amount, here amount what you are entering, you have to address in the currency. Whether it is INR, simply say currency. If you just enter the amount that is not okay with any business transaction, you have to address with a currency. The amounts are belongs to which currency? The amount is belongs to rupees or dollars, dinars. What exactly you have to specify? So that is the reason we need date information, right? Date information as it is, and we need detailed information about activities which we do in the organization. Any activity, any business activity you can take as an example. So we need detailed information, which company is doing, or in which branch that is happened, which department is involved, what exact activity. Still, if you need some other details also, you have to capture as a part of detailed information. Okay, or else you may want to capture in which location that activity happened. Fine. And the same way, whatever the amount you are entering, that you have to specify with the currency. So when you are recording the transaction, business transaction, to keep the transaction in a more meaningful way, you have to capture the date, you have to capture the detailed information of the transaction, and you have to specify the amounts with the currency. If you can track these details, the transaction will be more meaningful. Now, so every transaction, for every transaction, these details are required. For every transaction, these details are required. Now, to capture date in the system, we have to create the calendar. If you can maintain the calendar in the system, within the calendar you can find the dates. The dates will belong to a specific period, so that you can record the transaction on so and so date. If you want to identify how many transactions we recorded in the month of John, easily will be able to capture. So to capture the date in the system, we have to create the calendar. Okay, we have to create the calendar. Say you are going to do the implementation for US client. Say for one of US company, we are going to do Oracle Fusion implementation. In that case, to capture the date for each and every transaction, we have to create the calendar. How to create the calendar? On what base we have to create the calendar? It's very simple. So for which country client you are going to do the implementation, we have to look at that country financial year. Okay, country financial year. If you are going to do the implementation for US client, you have to create the calendar from 1st Jan, right? Because why we are creating from 1st Jan? US financial year starts with a Jan and ends with a December. Okay, ends with a December. And if you are going to do the implementation for India client, so we have to look at what is the financial year for India. Okay, what is the financial year for India? April to March. So you have to create a calendar which starts from 1st April 2020, or you can take 2019. The current financial year falls under 2019 in case of India. So to create the calendar, what we should know? We should know what is the financial year for that country. Based on that, we'll create the periods. We'll create periods like if you are creating the calendar for US, so first period is Jan, when it starts, when it ends. Second period is Feb, when it starts, when it ends. February, when it starts, when it ends. That's how all the periods and period date ranges we have to create in the system. That's how we can get ready with the calendar. So whatever the calendar we create in the system to capture the dates, that we can call as accounting calendar. Basically, whenever we use the calendar to capture the dates, based on the date only, system would create accounting entries where the amounts will be reflected with the GL accounts. What are the accounts will maintain in the system? Laptop purchase account, laptop sales account, salaries account, expense account. Against these accounts, the amounts will be reflected based on specific date only. On which date you recorded transaction, with the date only the amounts will be reflected with the accounts. That is the reason the calendar we call as accounting calendar. Okay, the calendar we call as accounting calendar. So in the system environment within our Fusion applications, if you are going to create any business transaction, any transaction we are going to create in any application, we have to capture the date. To capture the date, what we require? We require accounting calendar. How to create accounting calendar? For which country you are going to do the implementation, by following that country financial year, we have to create the accounting calendar. Okay, we have to create the accounting calendar. So say for example, for US we are going to create the accounting calendar. Again, when you are creating the accounting calendar, how many periods we can create in the accounting calendar? Okay, that we have to understand. We'll go to the second point. First, my question is, how many periods we can create in the accounting calendar, or else in any calendar? How many periods we can create?
12.
12. If it is,
there would be 13.
Okay, it totally depends. What is your period type? Based on period type, the periods can be number of periods you can decide. Period type. If your period is monthly, then 12. Okay. If your period is monthly, only 4. If your period is hourly, only 2. The same way, if your period is daily, 365 days. If your period is weekly, your period is semi-month, okay, semi-quarter. This is how you can have a different type of periods. So depending on the type of periods, you can decide how many periods we can have within the calendar. Ideally, every company uses period type as a monthly. So whenever you create the calendar for any country, by default will create monthly calendar only. That means, so if you are going to create the periods for US, 12 periods. Even if you are going to create from India, starting period would be different, but definitely we'll have a 12 periods, the specific financial year. So that's how we'll create the periods. Take example of US. We are going to create the periods, 12 periods will create. Okay. So if period type is monthly, 12 periods. So we have to create 12. But in the system, what business will do is end of the year. End of the year means in December in case of US. The December, when they are closing their books, if they want to pass some adjustment entries, okay, when they are closing the books, if certain information is not finalized, if it is under the suspense cases, or any information they want to track as some adjustment activities, so in that case, that they'll prefer to track in the separate period instead of tracking the actual periods. So that means if you are going with a monthly period in your calendar, by default you can have 12 periods. You can have more than 12 periods also. Those 12 periods are additional periods which business uses to record the adjustment entries. Okay, to record the adjustment entries when they are closing the books. So those periods we call as adjusting periods. Within our calendar, if you are going to use monthly, you'll have 12 periods. You can have more than 12. If you have any additional periods, those we call as adjustment periods. What is the purpose of adjustment periods? When they are closing the books, they can use these adjustment periods to record the adjustment entries instead of recording the adjustment transactions in the real periods. So that is the purpose. Okay, the additional periods can be used in any accounting calendar to maintain adjusting transactions separately. Okay, here any questions to understand about accounting calendar, please?
Yes, sir. How many adjusting periods we have?
You can have a number of. Ideally, when you look at real practices, end of the year they can have one adjusting period. And if they want to have quarterly ones, yes, after every 3 months once they can have one adjusting period, or else at the end of the year you can have 2 adjusting periods also, but ideally one would be enough. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions here, please?
If 1 Jan to 30 Jan, it is going to be period 1, and similarly for each and every month, we are going to have each and every month on monthly basis. So what is the period duration for the adjustment periods? Because we won't have time duration for it, right?
Yes, exactly. So that company will decide whether they want to do adjustments, okay, in the adjusting period. See, when we create adjusting period, the end of the year, ideally, right?
Yes.
So end of the year only
Yes.
do the adjusting. So if you take US calendar, what is the last period?
It will be 31 December.
No, last period.
December.
This is March.
December. No, in case of
December.
as per
For US, it will be
December. So when you are creating adjusting,
India.
you can take entire December month as a adjusting from December 1st to December 31st, or else you can take only last day of December, means it starts with the 31st, ends with the 31st, or else you can take from December last week. Okay, so however you can take it, there is no standard rule for that. A company will prefer to have how they require, that's it.
Okay, so it means in the 12th period, even though it is covered for whole month, it will be reduced to 1 to 20 or 1 to 25.
No. 12th month
will be reduced, and 26 to 31
apart from
for
that
adjustment period.
No. 12th month you will take as a 12th month, December month. You will create one more period as a 13th period. Okay. There you can take 12th period dates only. Maybe full dates means from 1st December to 31st, or else 31st to 31st only. Adjusting period will be 13th period.
Okay, so it's kind of
additional. It will override the December period dates. Overlap, sorry, not override, overlap.
Yeah, overlap dates. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Done. So, yeah. Again, this accounting calendar creation and all these things will be handled by finance people, but this is a basic things to where we have to understand also. That's the reason I'm taking you through. When you're doing the implementation, the finance people will create the accounting calendar. But we should aware because everywhere this we use in every application. Okay. So if you understand this, you can create your own accounting calendar so that you don't need to depend on anyone. Otherwise, when you are going through these classes, so we are not going to get someone else who can help us to do the finance related basic setups. Since our SAM is very much connected with the finance, so these basic points are very much important for us to understand when we are working as a consultants on the implementation projects or support projects. So that easily we'll be able to figure out the issues when we are working in any project. So that's how this information will be very much useful. Any questions related to accounting calendar? It's a very simple point. When you are going to record any business transaction, we have to capture the date. So we have to maintain all the dates in the system with the help of accounting calendar. That means predefined. We'll keep all the dates ready. Whatever the date we require, we'll pick from our accounting calendar so that we can record the business transaction then and there. So how to create? Means you have to see for which country we are implementing. Okay, for US we are implementing. Then you have to understand what is the financial year for US. So that's it. If you understand financial year, as it is, we have to create the accounting calendar, how the financial year we have for specific country. That's all. Any questions here, please? And one more point here. Ideally, we use monthly only, monthly accounting, monthly calendar. In case of monthly, we'll have a default 12 periods. You can have additional periods also. Those we call as adjusting periods. We can use for recording the adjustment transactions and end of the year when we are closing the books. But again, adjustment periods are not mandatory. These are not compulsory. If company think that is required, they want to track adjustment transactions separately, they can use it. Otherwise, they can, even those adjustment transactions also, they can track in the December month. Nobody will stop them. They can track December month with the specific classification. They can do that. But as a very general practice, every companies will use this adjustment period concept, since that flexibility we have in our application. Any questions here, please?
Other than accounting calendar, is there any other calendar required from our point of view?
Yeah, we have other calendars, but those will be used in the finance application. The payables, you have a payables calendar, or call it as special calendar. The GL also, you have other calendar called as transaction calendar, and the fixed assets depreciation calendar. Those we have. Whatever we required when we are working on SCM, and what sort of basic knowledge we required, even that is related to some other application, I'll be covering for sure. Yeah. Any other questions, please? Right, no questions. So this is what we have to understand about accounting calendar. Okay, we'll see in the system. First, we have to understand the concept. That's very, very much important. Directly getting into application, how to create accounting calendar doesn't make sense. So how to create, why we have to create accounting calendar, these are the points we have to understand. Okay, so by creating the accounting calendar, you will be able to capture the dates for each and every transaction. There are a few other points also why this accounting calendar is required, that we'll understand. The basic point is to capture the dates for the transaction when we are recording. Now let's look at the amount. When we are going to record the transactions, you have to enter the amount. So now I'll just give you one number here, 10,000. What do you think this 10,000 is? You think this 10,000 is which currency? Or what do you think about this 10,000? There is no clue. Okay, no clue at all. If you guess something, that is wrong. Nothing is written on its face. So now if I write INR, this is INR. Otherwise, I may think this 10,000 is some score, or kilometers, or liters, or square feet. If I write it is USD, it is USD. Now you cannot say this is score, meters, liters, right? So that means whatever this numbers we are going to enter in the system within the transaction, we have to address. Okay, that is related to what? We have to specify. So I written just 10,000 as USD. Say for example, you are doing the implementation for your client. Client is based out in US. So what is the local currency in US? USD, right? Client is in US. Okay, the country local currency is USD. Now you are recording on transaction. Okay, say 50,000 INR. Okay, please go on mute. Somebody is unmuted. So I written 10,000 USD, 50,000 INR. Now, if client is doing the business in US, USD is their local currency, right? For US client. I'm talking about US client. We are doing the implementation for one of the US client. For US client, USD is local currency. Okay, local currency. What about INR for US client? Do you think INR is local currency for US client? What you can call INR as? How they treat INR?
Is a functional currency, I can say.
Foreign currency. Okay, for US client, INR is foreign currency. Okay, I'll take case India client. For India client, INR is, for India client, for India INR is local currency, right? For Indian client, dollars are local currency? No, right? Foreign currency. Say now client is doing the business in India and US. In that case, you tell me, when client is doing the business in India and US, as per India books, USD is which currency? Client is doing the business in India and US. As per India books, USD is which currency?
Foreign currency.
Foreign. As per US books, INR is foreign. That's it. So the client is belongs to which country? That country currency we call as local currency. In other words, you can call it as functional currency also. Okay, functional currency. There is another name also I'll be adding later. So because you have to understand one more point. Or you can say local currency. Okay. So if you are going to do the implementation for one of the Indian client, so always we require the functional currency, means country local currency. And now I'll give one more just figure here, as I say 500. Now you tell me which is, what currency is this? 500 is what currency? What is this? 500 is what is this? If you say INR, I'll say no. If you say USD, I'll say no. I'll say this is, these are like 500s are marks. Now you will enter in the system 10,000, you will enter in the system 50,000. You may enter this 500 also in the system. Okay, these all are numbers. When you enter these numbers, these we have to represent what those are exactly. This you are representing with the dollars, this you are representing with the rupees, this you are representing with the marks. Now these two currencies, it could be local currency or foreign currency, these two are to got some monetary measurement, right? These two are related to money measurements. Okay, but this 500 is not related to money measurements. This is not a monetary measurements. These two are monetary measurements. It could be foreign currency or functional currency. Okay, could be foreign or functional currency or local currency, whatever you call. These two are money measurements. Simply you can say monetary measurements. But this is not related to money measurement. It's a non-monetary measurement. So if you are entering in the system anything related to non-monetary related information, that means which is not related to currency. So those are all the information. Here I give an example marks, or else you take this 500 liters, kilograms, meters, square feet, or square yards, anything. Anything you can take here. If that measurement is not related to money, simply we call it as, again before that, these are all measurements, marks, score, kilograms, liters, all this is related to statistical information, right? That is statistical information. Since whatever the statistical related information you are going to enter in the system, that you simply call it as stat currency. From statistical, the first four letters, prefix we are taking, we call it as stat currency. So these are the type of currencies which we come across when we are working on the application. Okay, ideally this stat currency we don't use, just for your understanding I am telling, this can be used in the general ledger application by finance people for certain concept called as allocations and all. We don't need to do anything with this, but for our understanding, the meaning of stat currency means it's not a real currency, if you are going to enter any statistical information like marks, square feet, etc., that will be calling as currency, even that is not currency, by representing that is statistical related information, which we are calling as a stat currency. Okay, so always we'll be dealing with the local currencies. Even if client is running the business in US, they may have a suppliers and customers in the other countries. So when they are dealing with other countries, suppliers and customers, we deal with the foreign currencies. So this is a currency related classification: local currency, or say functional currency, foreign currency, stat currency. Okay, just for our understanding purpose, I am writing as local currency. Simply, generally we use the term called as functional. Functional means local currency. Okay, functional currency, foreign currency, stat currency, the same. This functional, foreign, local, these currencies you can call it as with other term ledger currency also, but we didn't discuss what is a ledger and all. That's the reason I was not talking about it. Just make a note, you will come to know. Okay, these three are same. You can call it as functional currency or local currency or ledger currency also. So because every country we use one ledger. If client is doing the business in US, they'll use one ledger, minimum one ledger they will use. Within that country local currency they will use. If you are creating one ledger for US, we'll use currency called as USD. Country local currency is USD, that you can call as functional currency or local currency or ledger currency. Okay, so these are the type of currencies: functional currency, foreign currency, stat currency.
Yeah, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Is this stat currency functionality is introduced in Fusion,
No.
or is there?
It was there in EBS from older versions. Even 11A also you had.
Okay.
It's there, but that is a piece of finance guys' work. Okay. Yeah, we never come across in our subledger applications. Okay, that is just for some kind of allocations purpose. Okay.
Yeah, got it.
Fine. I'll give you a simple example where stat currency can be used in finance. Since we got introduced to this, let me talk about it. It won't take much time. Say you taken 1,000 square feet for rent. Okay, 1,000 square feet you taken for rent, and you are paying 50,000 per month. Okay, and these 1,000 square feet are occupied by 3 different departments. 600 square feet occupied by finance department. Okay, and 200 square feet are occupied by HR department. 100 square feet are occupied by sales department. You are paying 50,000 for 1,000 square feet. So 3 departments occupied those 1,000 square feet. Finance 600, HR 200, sales 100. Now you have to calculate out of 50 how much it goes for finance, how much rent for HR, how much rent for sales. In this scenario, in the system, you have to enter what is this 600, 200, 1,000, 100 square feet information, right? Now you have to enter this information in the system. That means you are going to find out rent for each department based on the square feet occupied. Here this is a currency. So this could be functional currency or foreign currency. But this information is which information? Which currency? This we call stat currency because square feet. So now if I want to find out the rent for finance department, how to calculate the rent? What formula we have to take?
50,000 into 1,000 divided by 600.
Yeah, 600 divided by 1,000. Simply you can A into B by C. This you call as A. Okay. This you call as B every time. First time will take 600, second time will take 200. For which department? This you take C. A into B by C. So if I want to find out finance department rent, 50,000 into 600 by 1,000. If I want to find out HR department rent, 50,000 into 200 by 1,000. This is how you can find. So in this sort of calculations, okay, these amounts, these figures we have to enter in the system, but we have to tell to the system what is this. We should not ignore, we cannot ignore without giving any information the values are belongs to what. In that scenario, we have to tell to the system this is not functional or foreign, this is stat related information. Instead of writing just stat, simply Oracle named it as, call it as stat currency. When you say stat currency, that's not a currency at all. So for this sort of calculations purpose, we have to enter these sort of figures in the system for calculation purpose. So when we are entering these, this will write it as a stat currency. 1,000 stat currency, 600 stat currency. Okay, so in the transaction we will include currency as a stat and we'll be putting all these values in the transaction. Fine. So that's how this stat currency can be useful, but in SCM part nowhere we use this. You can ignore it, but just for your understanding, take this point. We have three types of currencies: functional, foreign and stat. Done. Any questions here, please? Okay, so here we discussed 2 points. One is accounting calendar, the second one is currency. So accounting calendar we have to create. Okay, accounting calendar we have to create in the system. For which country we are going to do the implementation based on the country financial year, we have to create the accounting calendar. But when it comes to currencies, Oracle is providing all the currencies. Okay, if you go to Fusion applications, you can see all the currencies. You don't need to create any currency. So since Oracle is providing all the currencies within the Fusion applications, that simply you can call as currency information is seeded. Seeded. Okay, seeded information. Seeded information means predefined information which comes along with the product. Okay, if you take the subscription from Oracle for SCM and finance implementation, when you are doing the implementation, what are the information, what are the data you find within that applications to use those applications where you are not creating. You are not creating, already Oracle is providing some data. That sort of data or information we call as seeded information or call it as seeded data. It could be any data. So for every country we need currency. So you don't need to take decision which country we have to use so and so country. That is constant. For India means INR, US means USD. So those currencies for each country, the unique currencies, anyway those are required. No one can decide to change those. So since that information is fixed, constant, that data Oracle provides, that you can call as seeded data, as seeded information. So that means all currencies information Oracle will provide as a seeded data. When it comes to accounting calendar, as per your country, as per your client country, you have to create an accounting calendar, and again within that country which period type client required, ideally monthly only, whatever it may be. So how calendar is required in that country, that you have to create. Oracle cannot predict. If you take the license, you will be using for that country, and they don't create for us. When you are taking the license or subscription, yes, Oracle will come to know, but they don't create for us. We have to create, okay, accounting calendar as per our requirement. And currencies, so clients no need to create the currencies in the applications. All currencies Oracle provides. Which currency you require, you can use it. Okay, so currencies information we call as seeded data. Any questions here, please? No questions. So date we covered and amounts we covered. The other point is activity. That means in every transaction we have to capture the detailed information. Okay, this part will cover in the tomorrow session. Along with this, we'll take few more topics and we'll discuss. Once we are ready with those information, we can just get into the application, the basic introduction with few other points also. So that's all for today. Any questions from anyone, please?
Just one question. The way you told us about the currency being a seeded data, do we have any more such data which is already available, which we need not define in the system while trying to implement?
So there will be seeded data. Say for example, in purchasing application, Oracle is providing type of purchase orders. Okay, you can record few type of purchase orders. What type of purchase orders you can create, those Oracle is providing. That also you can call as seeded data. You can create different type of suppliers. The types, how many types you can create the suppliers that Oracle is providing, that you can call as seeded data. Okay, the same way requisitions or anything. Within the inventory, you can create various type of transactions. Which type of transactions you can create, Oracle provide that as a seeded data. Okay, which is required to enable the functionality within the application that they are providing as seeded data. When you start working on the application, you can understand. Okay, what we are going to see, what we did create, that is the seeded data. You'll see many examples.
Maybe countries, territories also one example.
Yes, all countries, even all countries, country related structure. If you take US, all countries, they provide all states, all counties, all cities, all postal codes, everything they'll provide. The territory information also seeded data, correct. Yeah. Any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman, for the functional currency and foreign currency, we used to have currency conversions to convert from one to other. So similarly, do we have any conversion setup for stat currency?
See, first of all, stat is not currency. Okay, we never record the transactions with the stat with the functional or foreign. Okay, if I ask you what is the conversion, okay, between USD and INR, you can answer, right? What is the conversion between the marks and rupees? What do you say? Nothing. First of all, it's not currency. Yeah. I explained, only for this sort of calculation purpose we use it. We don't use this for real transaction. So this information is a real transaction information? No. To identify how much rent need to be allocated for each and every department, internally we are going to do that allocation. That's it. There won't be any conversion which you can define stat with other currency. We never use this stat currency with any foreign or functional currency transaction process.
Okay. Yeah. So because why I asked this is because in advanced
reason could be anything, but we don't have. That is a simple point to understand.
Okay.
Yep.
One question a bit away from our current focus. How does the system understand exchange rate?
We will create. Okay, we will create. Say your client is US client. What is your functional currency? USD. Now, in this, you are going to record the transaction in INR. When you record the transaction INR, that INR amount need to be converted into USD. Okay, you have to set 1 INR equal to how many dollars as per today's date. Okay, as per today's date you have to set, then that's how it would convert. Again, when we are going to deal with that conversion, exchange rates, you may use the spot rate also. It totally depends what business you are doing. If stock exchange is going to use Oracle applications, for example, so they always go with the conversion with the spot rate. Now at this point of time, $1 may be equal to 70 rupees. After 10 minutes, it may be 71. So how the rates will get fluctuated, accordingly, they'll just maintain the rates in the system. In that case, they will use the real-time tools. Okay, some exchange rate tools they will use. The as per market, what is the rate, accordingly that information will be available in the application. Or else general business practice is, if you go to bank, you can see today this is a rate, okay, between USD and INR. They'll just display one rate. That means they'll decide one rate for specific day. By following that rate, they'll go with the conversion. The same practice business also follows. You can decide, you can set the rates for which day, what rate you can set up, accordingly system will convert. Okay, we'll see that. We'll create the foreign currency transactions. There you can see how to set up the rates, how system will convert. This and all we'll see once we get into the application process. Any other questions from anyone, please? Okay, we're done for today. If you have any questions, you can stay back, or else you may drop from the meeting. Thank you all. Any questions, please?
Hey, Lakshman.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've just joined today's class. Can you provide me the videos for the last two classes as well?
Sure. Yeah. You can keep in touch with the team. They will share.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
2 session video links. Okay, you can get from them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, fine. Thanks. Any other questions? Any questions from anyone? Okay, seems to no questions. That's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time and we'll continue from here. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you so much.